Okay, so I'm going to open DaVinci Resolve. It happens to be on my dock. I have it pasted to my dock, so it's always there. If you can't find it, you might want to look in your applications folder and then find a way to get it onto your dock or on your PC to a place where you can easily access it. So I'm going to click on DaVinci Resolve here. The program is going to open first with this panel, and this is called the Project Manager panel. Now, mine's going to look a little bit different than yours, for sure, because I have more project libraries in this area than you do, probably, and they may be different. And also in this area, I have more than one project. At this point, you should probably have this one project file here called Project 1. That's the one that was up in the Project 1 OneDrive folder. So if I click on this, and I double click that, depending on where DaVinci Resolve opened for you, you may or may not see this because there are pages across the bottom, as we talked about in an earlier video. And I happen to be on Fairlight. Fairlight is the little musical symbol. Let me get rid of my dock here for a second, and then you can see that a little bit better. Fairlight is this little musical symbol. So if you click on that, you should see this panel open. Now, I want to point out to you that I'm using this cursor with the blue circle around it. I have the ability to highlight sections, and I'll try to do that as much as I can to make this as clear as possible. I also have another app installed, and it's going to show my keystroke. So I'm going to hit the space bar, and you'll see
a sea of jagged
here,
obsidian.
You'll see the space bar symbol pop, and then, for instance, Command Z. These are shortcuts that are very, very useful. I want to show them to you, but this is a Mac. So I'm on a Mac, and I will try my best to give you the Windows alternative. For example, Command Z, which is undo, is really Control Z. I can't show you that because I don't have a Windows keyboard with me, but it is Control Z. Most of the time when you see the command symbol, you will use Control on Windows. I'm going to provide a complete list of all the differences, the Windows versus Mac shortcuts in a document so that you can review them and get to know them. They make life a lot easier. But a couple of things about what we're seeing here. You may or may not see this track as being as wide as I have it. This is audio track number 1. And I want you to know a few things about this track. We can make it more visible as far as up and down goes, and we can look at the wave a little bit easier that way. We can also zoom in. Now, to zoom in, wherever this playhead is, it's going to zoom into that by hitting Command and the plus key. So you can see I'm hitting Command and the equal key, pardon me. And then if I hit the Command minus key, it'll take me back out. So Command equal comes in, Command minus goes out. I can also scroll through this by moving the playhead back and forth. And I'll play a little sample for you. And the easiest way to move the playhead forward into play is either to hit
the air tasted of ozone and something metallic.
The play button up here.
Sensation.
Or alternatively, very easy, is to hit the space bar.
That made Alara's throat prickle as she took a tentative.
And I hit the space bar again to stop the playhead from playing the file. So
step onto the crimson soil of Xylos.
Space bar off. The other thing that you can do here is double click inside where it says Audio 1, and we can name this track. So let's name this track Voiceover, because that's what it is. I have recorded my voice directly into DaVinci Resolve Fairlight. So I have a microphone system going through an interface, and I have DaVinci Resolve seeing that microphone, and then I hit the record button, and I actually recorded this directly in to DaVinci Resolve. So, okay, we're on the Fairlight page. We're on track 1. We have changed the track name from Audio 1 to VoiceOver. I'd like you to do that. I also want you to know that if you right-click anywhere inside this area, you can change the color. You can do a lot of different things, but you can change the color of the track. So if you prefer to have different color here, you can change that. Now it's this yellow color. That could be useful, especially when you have more than one track, to be able to easily identify them. Now, I also want you to see across the top here are some other panels that can be opened. And this one is the media pool. So if I click on that, this card opens up that shows me all my different bins and what files, audio files I have in there. Now, this is showing me a thumbnail view. And if I wanted to see that in a list view, I could look at it this way. I prefer this. I like to see the thumbnail view. And by the way, if you hover over anything for long enough, you will get this little card that comes up and tells you what you're looking at. So it's very, very useful to slow down a little bit, get to know some of the controls here in the user interface of DaVinci Resolve. I have created bins over here. I am going to show you how to do that in another lesson, but I have created bins, and in those bins are certain files. There are the two clips here. This is this clip, and this is that clip. And then I have put a whole bunch of different audio files in here, ambient music and sound effects. There's all kinds of alien sound effects and people walking in here. And you will understand why these will come into play once you hear the full narrative. It's about a young woman who lands on an alien planet and gets out and walks around. So let's take a look in ambient music here. There are a bunch of different ambient music beds, I guess I would call them. I got them from a royalty-free website. And if you click on one, it will end up here for sampling. So there's a couple of different things you can do here. You can just play it through. Now, I've got the volume turned back a little bit because this is a very loud file. It's very distorted. But I've turned it down a bit so that we can sample it. Yeah, it's kind of spacey. It's kind of good. Let's listen to this one. Let's sample this guy here. And I'm going to grab this control, bring it back to the beginning, and then I'm going to hit the space bar. Yeah, I like that. It's kind of mysterious. Let's play a beginning of the narration. Again, her name is, I think it's Ella, and she lands on an alien planet and gets out and sees all kinds of crazy, weird things and a scary monster and that sort of thing. But let's just sample the narration.
The air tasted of ozone and something metallic, a sensation that made Alara's throat prickle as she took a tentative step onto the crimson soil of Xylos. The landscape stretched before her, a sea of
Note that I am manipulating the zoom feature by using Command.
jagged obsidian rocks and phosphorescent pulsating fungi.
All right, so you can see it's kind of trippy and it's kind of otherworldly. So I'm going to take this file. I like this one, and I'm going to just grab it, left clicking, and I'm going to put it in this area. And look, a new track is created. And this one's going to default to the color green. I think I like that. I'm going to leave it that way. And now I've got a little bit of ambient music under the narrative voice. So now we can begin to blend these two things together because we have two tracks here. And just for the moment, I'm going to go back up here to Media Pool, and I'm going to click this off. I just want that card to go away. And now I've got all this real estate to look at, just the sound files. And I'll start back at the beginning here. And
The air tasted of ozone.
all right, obviously the music bed file is going to be much louder, so we're going to have to deal with that. And I think my narration is a little too low in volume. First, let's go over here. And I'm just going to click inside here, and we'll call this Ambient Bed 1. I'm just abbreviating. Ambient Music Bed 1. Let's just say that. Now, I have some more controls up here, and it's good to know what these do at this point. Right now, this is the pointer mode, and then this is the range mode. We're going to use these two quite a bit. There's also some other tools here we'll get to know, but right now I want you to know about the pointer mode and the range mode, this guy right here. And let me highlight those. And now I can take this track, I'm clicking on this track, and I can actually move that out a little bit because I like the music coming in, but at some point I want it to fade out underneath. I want it to duck underneath my narrative. I think that might be a good spot to do it, right about there. So again, there's a volume, overall volume control line here that you can grab and bring up and down. And that's a good way to make quick adjustments, but I actually want this to, I want it to start to drop right around this point. So let's go over to this point right here. And now we're going to go into another panel. So we're going to go into this inspector panel here, and we're going to open that guy. So that's going to open this panel here, and there's some things now that I can do. As long as I'm on this track, I've highlighted this track. You can see the difference when I highlight the voiceover track. It get grayed out, and then this changes. And so here, the track changes and this gets grayed out. So I am indeed working on this track right now. I have the playhead right at the point where I want the music to start dipping. And I'm going to go to track level here, and I am going to okay, so I guess when I'm here, yeah, I have to be here with this track highlighted in the red borders. And with the playhead, again, with the playhead here, I'm going to go to this little diamond shape, which is a keyframe. So, and I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to create a keyframe right there. I just created a keyframe right there. Now I'm going to hit the arrow key going to the right just a bit, 4 or 5 taps of the arrow key, and I've moved the playhead that way too. That's another way to move the playhead. And I'm going to create another key point. Boink. Now I have 2 keyframes, and I'm on the second keyframe, and now I have the ability to take that down and duck that music right there. So let's play that back and see what it sounds like.
The air tasted of...
All right, I think it needs to come down a little bit more than that. So I'm going to grab it physically this time and just bring it down.
The air tasted of...
Okay, And now I want to drag this back because I want the drop to happen just as I begin speaking. And I'm even going to zoom in a little bit more. Command, oops, I can't hold that key too long, can I? And that looks like it might work. I think I might even come in here a little bit sooner, right about there.
The air tasted of ozone and something metallic, a sensation that made Alara's throat prickle as she took a tentative step onto the crimson.
Now you can see the levels here. These are level meters. So as I play through,
Alara's throat prickle as she took a...
You can see that this is now lower than the narrative track.
A tentative step onto the crimson soil.
Which is what we want. But I think my narration can come up a bit, and there's an effect that, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit, that should be applied to all voiceover and interview spoken word, and it's called compression. Okay, so let's apply some compression to my voice. Again, I could just very easily raise the volume of this track, but there are some peaks and valleys in the loudness of my voice. There's some places where it gets really loud, and then there are places where it gets really soft. So I want to kind of even that out, and that's what compression does. It takes the high points and brings them down, and it takes the low points and brings them up a bit. I'll show you how to do that. So now it's time to look at our mixer setting. So here is the mixer panel. Let's open that up. And you can see there's another representation of each track. This is the voiceover track, that is here. This is the ambient bed track, ambient bed number 1, that's here. And this is the bus. And the bus is just, think of it as the final output. They all have volume controls. They all have effects in here. One of the things that I like to do is, and I'm going to make this bus smaller right now because we don't need it. One of the things that I like to do, let me just make that, is change this panel here so that it says dynamics, DY, effects, FX, and equalization, EQ. So I always change these to that order. That means that the dynamics are going to happen on this file first, then the effects, and then the equalization. And that will become clear to you as we move forward. But I'm going to click on this dynamics panel on this track. This is the track I want to work on. And I double click in there and I get this dynamics voiceover card. And this will be off. These will all be off. As a matter of fact, I had this on earlier, so I'm going to undo it by clicking on this button right here. I'm going to undo everything that was done on this effect. But you will see 3 different effects here: expander, gate, compressor, and limiter. We want a compressor, so we're going to put that on. And now I'm going to hit the playhead, and we're going to look at some of the information coming into this graph right here.
The air tasted of ozone and something metallic, a sensation that made Alara's throat prickle.
Okay, I want to bring the threshold to about 25. And what I'm doing here is I'm telling the compressor that when it reaches minus 25 decibels, I want you to do something to the file overall. And what we're going to do to it is we're going to create a 3-to-1 ratio, somewhere around here. We don't really care about attack and hold and release right now, but we do want to create an effect where when it hits this threshold, we're going to increase the lower volume 3-to-1. Okay, so let's watch and see what happened now.
As she took a tentative step onto the crimson soil of Xylos. The landscape stretched before her, a sea of jagged, obsidian rocks and phosphorescent.
It's looking a little bit better. It's looking a little bit more level. Let's watch this with the compressor on and off. So I'm going to play it again.
Crescent pulsating fungi. A stark and unsettling beauty.
I turned it off.
She was alone, a lone explorer on a world teeming with the unknown.
You can see right there it's not
mixed with
the same volume, but when I turn it on,
Alara's ship, the Stardust, had landed in a valley.
It's a lot better. Now I'm going to do one more thing, which is the overall volume came down because it took some of those peaks down. And I'm going to make up for that by using this control, which is make up gain. So I'm going to bring that up. Let's play the file from the beginning.
The air tasted of ozone and something metallic.
I'm bringing up a little bit more.
That made Alara's throat prickle as she took a tentative step onto the crimson soil of Xylos. The landscape stretched before her, a sea of jagged, obsidian rocks and phosphorescent, pulsating fungi. A stark and unsettling beauty. She was alone, a lone explorer.
I like it. I think it sounds more level. It's easier to listen to. Let's A/B that.
And something metallic.
I'm going to shut the compressor off.
That made Alara's throat prickle as she took a tentative step onto the crimson soil of Xylos.
Yeah, it's dropping way down there, but when I have the compressor on,
a sea
it stays even.
Obsidian rocks and phosphorescent, pulsating fungi.
There's a couple of peaks there. There's a couple of little peaks there, but I could apply a limiter. I'm not going to do that right now. I just wanted you to see how the compression works. It's a very, very easy effect. It's probably one of the first things that you should do in any audio file is make sure that it's compressed properly. So I'm going to click up here and make this panel go away, but the effect is still living right in here. And anytime I want to go back in and manipulate that effect, I just double click on it and that will come back up. You see all the settings are the same.
A stark and unsettling beauty. She was alone, a lone explorer.
All right, I'm liking it. Let's stop there. One last thing we'll do is this file was, this clip, was moved and this one wasn't connected to it. So I'm going to just move that over and it's snapped right next to it. And in the next lesson, I'm going to show you how to make some basic edits.